Hi, welcome back to Waxing On. Monday, that means jazz. And today we're doing another one of my first albums. And today it's my first Chuck Mangione album. A live. Now, live album, recorded in Rochester, 1972 at the Arts Center, Nazareth College campus for flood relief. Now, at this point, Chuck had already released 2 live albums prior to this. And they were the big concert albums where full orchestra, guest performers, vocalists, his brother Gap on piano, double album sets, Friends in Love and Together. Now, this one, it's kind of stripped down. Quartet. A couple of the same kind of tunes he was doing, sometimes with his large orchestras, but in a quartet setting. Now, if you only know Chuck Mangione from, let's say, the A&M years, when he kind of broke out and became more commercially viable, Chase the Clouds Away, Bella Via, Fun and Games, those kind of albums. Or if you only know Chuck Mangione from the Columbia albums, we get into things like Love Notes and Disguise, this is nothing like what he was playing then. I found the Columbia years, it just felt like he was just playing the melody over and over. It really was not a satisfying album when I had one of those. A&M, yeah, they had a lot of great tunes. This is where it really broke out, had some hits. It was during that time that he was commissioned to do a theme song for a TV show that was filming in Toronto, a detective show. Toronto played a big important part for Chuck Mangione. Even this album, recorded in Rochester, mixing was done at Eastern Sound in Toronto. Very famous recording studio. First time I saw him, he was doing an orchestra gig in Toronto. Back in the mid-'70s, early 70s, he was doing week-long gigs at one of the premier showcase theaters there with the big orchestra, doing those full shows, not unlike Friends in Love and Together. Album, Land of Make-Believe, recorded at Massey Hall in Toronto. So he had a real tight connection to Toronto. I'd seen him with the small group as well when he moved in the A&M years, when he went from a quartet to a quintet. He was playing at Ontario Place. He had gig there every summer as well. So, I mean, we're just across the river from, well, across the White Lake, be Lake Ontario, the opposite side from where Rochester is to Toronto. It's very close proximity. Anyways, this album, 4 people. Chuck Mangione. We've got Jerry Nywood on saxophone, who's just an excellent, excellent sax player. Tony Levin, electric bass, again a very familiar name, and Steve Gadd on drums. Now, a couple of the songs he has played with the orchestras. We've got Legend of the One-Eyed Sailor, that showed up in the Land of Make-Believe album, and 60 Miles Young. Without all the orchestra, and just having 4 players playing, and they're providing all the harmonies, all the rhythms, everything in there, you can really hear the quality of the writing, the arrangements, and the performances. I mean, this is not just Chuck and Jerry going over the melody. There are some great solos in here and a lot of room to stretch out and not a lot of places to hide. I mean, you've got to really play when you're in here. It was an interesting album. First, I decided I wanted to give Chuck a listen, because, I mean, this is early 70s. I'm a teenager. Here's this guy, long hair, beard, playing an unusual horn, but very something similar to what I play with trumpet. At this point, I had been exposed to flugelhorn through the Boss Brass. Guido Basso was their flugelhorn player, just an excellent player. We'll talk about him maybe next week with another one of my first albums. But flugelhorn was a very interesting horn for me. The rest of this album is filled out. We got High Heeled Sneakers, that famous tune by Higginbotham, and St. Thomas, or Sonny Rollins' song. But to hear these guys play, you can really hear what they're able to do. I never felt on even the A&M albums that they got a chance to really stretch out and show you what they could do improvising. On here, it's some really straight ahead playing. There's lots of great solos, very melodic solos. None of that just running up and down the scales like some performers like to do. I mean, these guys really crafted some excellent solos in here. And again, no place to hide. It was just the four of them. It was a great introduction into the music of Chuck Mangione. I continued on supporting him right through all of the other albums. I mean, I went to see him whenever I got the chance, picked up all the albums that came out. I was a big fan of his work. And this is where it all began. A live album, recorded in 1972. Gosh, what are we looking at now? 50 years ago. Wow, 52 years ago now. And it stands up just as well as it did back then. I don't know if you can get hard copies. And even when I go online, sometimes it's hard to find this one. You can find a lot of the commercial albums, the A&M albums, and the Columbia ones, but some of this that was recorded on Mercury was not as easy to find. Now, granted, you can go back, YouTube, great place to check. The first two big orchestra concerts were PBS specials, so there might be some options on there as well. But if you haven't listened to him in a while, or if you never listened to the early Chuck Mangione, there was another one called the Quartet album where he's sitting on a folding chair playing the flugelhorn. Not quite, I don't find, as exciting as this one was. A live album, you got the live energy, a lot more solos, not a lot of studio tricks, it's just them playing. It was really a very satisfying and exciting album, and again, I find it stands up just as well now as the first day I listened to it. So it's Alive by Chuck Mangione on Mercury, and that's my first Chuck Mangione album. That's it for today. Thanks for stopping by. We'll see you on Wednesday. Well, I think we'll do another First Wednesday for you. Till then, everybody, take care, stay safe. See you on Wednesday.